Welcome to We've Got a Country to Save, brought to you by Freedom Chat. Freedom Chat has true end-to-end encryption, no storage of messages on the server, and no commercial use of user data. That way, you can speak freely and message privately. Download the app today and subscribe to my Freedom Chat channel at Larry Elder for exclusive posts and never-before-seen content. We also thank Impactful Pictures, Old Glory Bank, Patriot Mobile, and El Cholo. Be sure to like and subscribe to our podcast, and make sure to follow or subscribe to my channel on whatever platform you're using, whether X, YouTube, Facebook, or Rumble. Please patronize our sponsors so we can keep bringing you these awesome videos. And if you don't patronize our sponsors, well... We know where you live. Let's start with this interesting exchange between President Trump and Alec Baldwin.
Alec, it's your favorite president. Look, Alec, I will offer you a total pardon, because I want to be friends, right? I want to be friends. I will give you a total pardon for murdering that woman if you kiss the ring. Kiss the ring, Alec. Kiss the big, beautiful ring. Come on, Alec. Come on, look at Alec Baldwin, right? He did that impersonation of me. It was not too hot, not too good. But look, we're back in office. You lost. Kamala lost. She's somewhere getting intoxicated. Look at that suitcase. Unbelievable. Well, Alec, if you don't want that pardon for murdering that woman in cold blood, you can call it first degree. You can call it whatever you want, but it was not good. She's looking down on me right now, smiling, happy. Thank you for confronting the man who took me out, who killed me. And that's okay.
Now, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
No, you realize, by the
Whoa.
way, no, look at me. I want you to look at me.
Sure, sure.
You got a camera on me here?
The ring? No, it's the ring.
But you realize my kids live in this building, right? But I want you to know something.
We love the children. We're doing great deals for the children.
Be real careful.
Okay.
If this camera wasn't here, I'd snap your neck in half and break your neck right over. So you know that, don't you?
Okay. All right, Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin, ladies and gentlemen, class act. Believe me. Believe me.
I want you to get out of here.
Okay.
No, I want you to get out of here.
Oh, he's yelling at me. Look, your favorite president's leaving. Your favorite I'm a citizen of this. I was born and raised in New York City. I love you, Alec. Alec, look, you don't want to attack your favorite president, Alec. Look, I love you. I love you, Alec. He's got more than De Niro, that I can tell you. De Niro ran away. Alec confronted. That's good. He's strong, but also he's weak because he murdered a woman. So that's okay, right? Look at this guy.
Tough night for Mr. B. By the way, when I ran for governor, Baldwin tweeted that Larry Elder is an idiot, a dangerous idiot. I said, yeah, but the number of people I've shot and killed is, I don't know, 0. But the big news this week, Reid, the hateful, racist, anti-white, pathologically anti-Trump, and frankly quite idiotic host, is out at MSNBC. Hee-haw.
Shout out to our amazing readers, our audience. I just love running into y'all in the airport, on these streets, and on social media. I could not love or appreciate you more. Thank you, thank you, thank you for holding us down. Almost 5 years, we are a toddler, and we out in these streets in this world, and we are not going to stop. That is tonight's ReidOut. You can follow me on Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, and on Substack at joyandreid.substack.com. Also on TikTok and Facebook at Joy Reid Official. Inside with Jen Psaki starts now.
Whenever I watched her show, which I did so you didn't have to, I always felt my IQ dropped 2 points.
Recent polls have shown a fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map. Why do you think this is?
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries, so we will be able to build up our future for our children.
Thank you very much.
Did you know that trillions of data records were exposed in 2024? From the AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile data breach that exposed the text records of over 100 million Americans, to the Change Healthcare data breach, or even more recently, A hacking group claims to have stolen every single American social security number. People are confused, concerned, and off about the invasion of privacy that's currently going on. And yet, despite these concerns, many people continue to use messaging apps that claim to be private and secure. But are they? These apps also track your location, time spent on the app, your activities within the app, your browser, phone type, carrier, and even other identifiers such as your financial information and political affiliation. Newsflash, if you're not being charged for an app, you are the product. Your data is being collected and used, often without your permission and in ways you might not even realize. Here to tell you more is advisor, board member, and renowned radio and TV host, Larry Elder.
Freedom Chat is a private social messenger that allows you to message who you want and subscribe to the channels you want, all in complete and total privacy. With true end-to-end encryption, soon to be quantum-safe encryption, no storage of messages on your servers, and absolutely no commercial use of user data. Your conversations and your data belong to you, not big tech, not governments, not malicious hackers. Is Freedom Chat, Tanner, easy to use? Am I good at tennis? You see, with Freedom Chat, you can edit, unsend, and self-destruct messages, share images, videos, or GIFs.
It's GIFs.
GIFs?
GIFs.
Really?
It's GIFs.
It's not GIFs?
No, it's GIFs.
When did they change it? Prevent screenshots and customize fonts and colors, and enable dark mode, all from one user-friendly dashboard.
Our team is working incredibly hard to make our dreams a reality, and we want you to join us.
Don't watch from the sidelines. Invest in freedom, invest in your privacy, and be a part of history.
Speak freely and message privately with Freedom Chat.
Download the app today. GIFs?
GIFs.
Honestly?
GIFs.
GIFs?
GIFs.
What does it stand for? It stands for Americans have had enough of supporting companies that hate our values. Tired of compromise? So am I. It's time to switch to Patriot Mobile, America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They are an example of putting the cause ahead of profits, and that's why I'm proud to partner with them. Patriot Mobile offers dependable nationwide coverage, giving you access to all three major networks, which means you get the same coverage you've been accustomed to without funding the left. When you switch over to Patriot Mobile, you're sending a message that you support the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the sanctity of life, and our military vets and our first responder heroes. Their 100% US-based customer service team makes it easy to switch, keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Their team will help you find the best plan for your needs. Just go to patriotmobile.com/Larry or call 972-PATRIOT. That's patriotmobile.com/Larry or call 972-PATRIOT. Get free activation when you use the offer code Larry. Join me and make that switch today. patriotmobile.com/Larry, patriotmobile.com/Larry or call 972-PATRIOT. Here's what President Trump posted on Truth Social. Low-life chairman of Comcast, Brian Roberts, the owner of the ratings challenge NBC and MSNBC'S, has finally gotten the nerve to fire one of the least talented people in television, the mentally obnoxious racist Joy Reid. Based on her ratings, which were virtually non-existent, she should have been canned long ago, along with everyone else who works there. Also thrown out was Alex Wagner, the sub on the seriously failing Rachel Maddow show. Rachel rarely shows up because she knows there's nobody watching, and she also knows that she got less television persona than virtually anyone on television except perhaps Joy Reid. Then there's, of course, low IQ con man Al Sharpton, who has perhaps the lowest TV ratings in the history of television. What is he doing to Brian Roberts to stay on the air? This whole corrupt operation is nothing more than an illegal arm of the Democrat Party. They should be forced to pay vast sums of money for the damage they've done to our country. Fake news is an unpardonable sin. Now, let's go over some of Reid's greatest hits.
Similarities to what happened in Germany and what's happening now in America are just undeniable. History may not repeat verbatim, but it sure does rhyme. Trump and Stephen Miller, his former director of speechwriting, depict non-white immigrants as carriers of deadly diseases who are violent terrorists. Trump was returned to the presidency after staging a coup and has exerted control of media or social media in order to parrot anti-immigrant vitriol and openly hateful anti-LGBTQ language.
But if you think it was the machines, but you can't say, just don't say anything. See, this is what I'm saying.
I'm not saying anything. All I'm saying is there are many ways to cheat in an election. And I don't ever put it past Republicans to cheat in elections because they've been busted too many times.
Gotten and beat back the trust and established an income tax, which didn't exist until the 20th century, established women's rights, civil rights, immigrant rights. That's the 20th century. And these oligarchs, they've always been there. Who do you think was paying for, Rush Limbaugh? He was a very wealthy man. Fox is owned by an oligarch. Who do they think is funding the Ben Shapiro and other podcasts? The oligarchy's been hidden in the background the whole time. And Biden is this pivot president as America is hurtling towards sort of falling in love with these rich tech gods, these tech bros. Donald Trump is going to officially be the president-elect. Let that sink in, America. This guy is going to be the president of the United States and the face of the country to the world. So now that I've told you what you've won, Trump America, allow me to tell you what you've lost. You've lost the morality card. No longer can the U.S. go around lecturing the world about democracy, because in our democracy, the person who got the most votes will not become the president. And hey, maybe it's a good thing that we can no longer go around the world lecturing them about how to live. You've also lost the notion of an exceptional America, because as it turns out, we're just another Western nation falling to the ethno-nationalist forces sweeping across Europe, from Brexit in the UK to France's Marine Le Pen, fueled and egged on by the Russians and feeding on the fear of non-white and non-Christian immigrants. We, as it turns out, are not so different after all. You've also lost the right to moralize to blue America about family values. And we sincerely hope and pray that your daughters and your sisters and your wives and all women and girls are never disrespected, never abused the way the next president of the United States has boasted about disrespecting and even sexually assaulting women, including walking in on teenage pageant contestants while they're naked. If the incoming president makes you feel proud, I'm very happy for you. But please don't tell the people who are afraid that they have no right to be. And to my friends in the media who are rushing to normalize Trump, who are blithely calling on parents and teachers of scared Latino and Muslim kids and little girls and boys of color to come together and accept what's happening, while Trump ushers in an emboldened KKK. Trump's admonitions come days after he hosted Daniel Penny in his private box at the Army-Navy game in Maryland and posed for smiley thumbs-up pictures with him, as did his crew, Vivek Ramaswamy and J.D. Vance. Penny is the man who held a homeless black man on a New York City subway train in a chokehold that prosecutors said lasted almost 6 minutes. He was acquitted last week of criminally negligent homicide in that man, Jordan Neely's death, after the jury deadlocked on second-degree murder and that charge was dropped. That killing, the killing of a poor black man suffering from schizophrenia and yelling that he was hungry, thirsty, and fed up, gets you a hero's welcome from the once and future president of the United States. Of course, this is a feature of the strange, and cynical logic of MAGA world, where some killings are acceptable and others are not. You're seeing it on podcasts and with conservative media talkers, many of whom are funded by billionaires, by the way. Their message? Revere the rich and celebrate the man who chokes out the poor. The presidential pardon was originally meant to grant the president the power to temper justice with mercy. It was not enshrined in our Constitution so that a dishonorable man could reward his criminal allies, friends, and family for their corrupt practices. I don't have a problem with Biden pardoning his son. He should have pardoned him. The crazies are coming, right? But to me, it's like pardon more. Let's bring it back to the U.S. and to our local gangster, Donald Trump. He's not even president yet, and he's already spending his time sitting in his golden palace, Mar-a-Lago, muscling other countries like he's Tony Soprano with a social media site. This is how Trump operates on the world stage. He acts like he's everybody's boss, like he's the king of the world, which is bad news for basically everybody, unless your name is Vladimir Putin, the boss to Trump's underboss. These past 14 days, y'all have felt like Trump is casting his administration like it's a reality TV show. But with this amount of effort exerted on individuals who are exceptional in their lack of qualifications, you have to openly wonder what they've promised Trump and what he promised them in return. What's implied here is a pseudo quid pro quo, where you hire individuals who have issues that can only be resolved by a powerful king, and then that king, Donald Trump, gets permanent loyalty and obedience in return, which involves destroying any impartial federal system and twisting it in his favor and that of his favored friends and corporations.
Hey, I just want to give some free advice to the white progressives, particularly white progressive women who may be thinking about marching against the Trump victory, maybe putting back on the P-word hats and doing that thing. I would just say probably don't send any of those invites to any black women you know. I'm just going to tell you right now, they're not coming. I'm pretty sure black women have resigned from the Save America Coalition, Save Democracy Coalition, and definitely the Save the Democratic Party Coalition. I think that's probably not happening. I would just keep those invites maybe among your own friends, because I don't think they're coming.
It's a pure Project 2025 in miniature in Florida, and that kind of extreme, sort of extremist, right-wing, fascist-type government in Florida, does that make it a more attractive place? We know that if Kamala Harris wins by 3 million votes and yet does not become president, she will concede. That's a no-brainer. We also know that if Donald Trump does not win the election, he will not concede, and he will proceed to try to bring us to civil war. Have you noticed how sharply the polls have shifted in Trump's favor over the last couple weeks? With these claims that Trump is surging with black and Latino voters and leading in every single swing state, according to secret internal polls, despite all the Hitler talk. Yes, this race will be far too close, because unfortunately, we do have a fascist groundswell in parts of this country, mainly among white men, let's be clear, but in small pockets among black and brown men, too. This happens to be a global phenomenon, as women become more economically independent and seek positions of power. Trump's recent claim about American girls being raped and sodomized and murdered by savage criminal aliens preyed on similar white fears. It is far from a coincidence that this is happening as Democrats are fielding a black presidential candidate for the third time in 5 elections. And why the leader of the Republicans is now an extremist known for enabling white supremacists and who is reviving race science as part of the discourse. Are you committed to naming a black woman as your vice presidential running mate? What makes this so ugly is that it reveals a truth that is clearly broadly held within Republican circles. That white men, by definition, when they have a job, earned it and deserve it. And anybody but a white man is a DEI hire. For me, there is something wonderfully poetic about the fact that despite the fact that even if convicted, he's not going to go to prison, the first person to actually criminally prosecute Donald Trump is a black Harvard grad, the very kind of person that his former staff, the people who worked for him, Stephen Miller, et cetera, want to never be at Harvard Law School. But he was. And he came out and graduated, and he's prosecuting you, Donald. And a black woman is doing that same exact thing in Georgia, and a black woman forced you to pay a $175 million fine. Donald Trump is being held to account by the very multicultural, multiracial democracy that he's trying to dismantle. And for me, there's something poetic and actually wonderful about that. It says something good about our country that we're still capable of having that happen. Go DEI. My DEIs are bringing it home on today.
This election is no longer about the old guy that's in the White House now. Like, you know, all the op-ed pages and the New York Times can run around and opine about, you know, what Joe Biden should do. And, you know, y'all have fun with that. Enjoy yourselves, intellectual thought leaders. I no longer care. Doesn't matter to me anymore. It's above me now. It's above me now. There's a Waffle House next door. There's a Best Western next door as well. It's above me now. It's above Joe Biden now. Don't care about Joe Biden's age, infirmity, that he shuffle when he walk. I don't care. He could be seated for the rest of, from now to election day and never get up off a chair. He could sit down. He could roll around in a wheelchair. He could be on a skateboard, seated. I don't care. Donald John Trump cannot be allowed back into the White House. Because if you combine that madman with this court, 2 of whose members are insurrectionists, so they are kings, and Trump is king. You put him in the White House, combined with this court, and a Republican House and Senate, we're done, y'all. All the rights that were won in the 20th century, the hard-earned rights of women, laborers, workers, the rights of children, remember child labor used to be legal, the rights of black folks, forget that, the rights of non-white immigrants, forget that, all of the 20th, they are trying to repeal the entire 20th century, and they're doing it fast. Between them and these crazy Republican governors, they are repealing the American century, the 20th century, because they don't like it and they want back the 19th century. The century when super rich white men, unchecked and untaxed, amassed great wealth, passed it down with no taxation to their descendants and pretended that they had earned it on their own, that they were just masters of the universe. They want that era back. They think that the 20th century was an abomination and they are dismantling it. They're coming for every single one of our rights. They're not done. They're not done. If you love having the freedom for contraception, LGBTQ rights, that's going too. If you don't think they're coming for Obergefell, if you don't think they're coming for all these rights, then you are delusional. They're coming for all of it. They're dismantling the 20th century. They are repealing the 20th century. This ain't about Joe Biden anymore, y'all. It ain't about his policies. There are a lot of them I disagree with. There's a lot of them I disagree with. Deeply, morally. It's above me now. It's above him now. You cannot allow Republicans to control the White House, the House, and the Senate, and the Supreme Court, and all of these states. You're now voting for your life. The United States has a population of north of 327 million people. Why do we need more kids? I mean, your party, Senator Tuberville, is the one screaming that 10 million immigrants, which I don't even know that number even makes any sense because it doesn't, have streamed into the country since Joe Biden has been president, and you're claiming that that's too many people, that if more people come into the southern border, this is some sort of crisis because we've got too many people and we've got no more space and we can't afford more people. But now you're saying we need more kids? Can you explain who's the we and what's the purpose? You're also a senator from the state of Alabama. God help the people there. Are you saying the state of Alabama needs more kids? Why does the state of Alabama need more kids? More kids for what? There was a time when the state of Alabama absolutely needed more kids because, Alabama was a slave state. And the mandate of the planter class in Alabama was for black women to produce more kids because those kids were property. And they could work more kids and make more money on their plantations. Are you saying the state of Alabama needs more kids because you think that those populations will include people who are maybe destitute and desperate enough if you kick out the immigrants like a lot of y'all want to do, and you can make them do the work that the migrants are doing now? Because that kind of sounds slavery-ish. Is the state of Alabama the we? And is that the why? I mean, you're also a white guy. Are you saying the we is white folks need more kids? Is this like a great replacement thing where you're concerned that there's not enough white people in the population versus the growth of the Latino population, the black population, the Asian American population, and so the we is white people? White people need to make white women have more kids, and that's the we, and that's the why? Because it's a little creepy. A little Handmaid's Tale, don't you think? And to find out that literally Barack Obama's 2 terms as president are your reparations, and Juneteenth, which you already celebrated anyway, is your reparations, and yet you built this country. You literally physically built this country, and yet the attitude toward you from a lot of your peers and your fellow citizens is just shut up and be grateful. And it's infuriating.
Basically, we on this side of the TV screen have said all we can.
We've laid out the stakes in this crucial election, where one side stands for freedom while the other meets the textbook definition of fascism, namely a far-right dictatorial regime like Hitler's Germany or Franco's Spain or Mussolini's Italy, but also white-ruled South Africa before Mandela and the black majority took control, or Vladimir Putin's Russia, Viktor Orban's Hungary, or Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela today, that suppresses the rights of women and minorities, uses the military to execute the whims of a strongman dictator, and controls and suppresses the press, education, the arts, rewrites history to suit a favored and dominant racial class, and foments extravagant corruption in order to enrich the dictator and his friends. We've warned you about Donald Trump's profound unfitness for office, from his theft of classified documents and attempted insurrection to his clear cognitive and physical decline, to what he plans to do if he returns to power, threatening to lock up or even execute his political opponents, increasing federal capital punishment and unleashing the police unrestrained, using the military to suppress protests, banning abortion nationwide by enforcing the Comstock Act, persecuting LGBTQ Americans, spiking prices and crashing the economy with across-the-board tariffs that amount to a giant Trump tax on everything you buy that's imported from overseas, firing tens of thousands of dedicated civil servants and putting people in charge of our government like Elon Musk, who has essentially purchased Trump for $75 million. Tom Homan, who vows to deport whole families of immigrants that could include U.S. citizens. Stephen Miller, who seems to dream of the return of internment camps to U.S. soil, along with mass deportation to make America white again.
But wait, here's more. Rachel Maddow, another twisted and vicious anti-Trumper, all but called her MSNBC hall bosses racist.
An even bigger programming change is at 7 p.m. Eastern, where Joy Reid's show, The Readout, ended tonight. And Joy is not taking a different job in the network. She is leaving the network altogether. And that is very, very, very hard to take. I am 51 years old. I have been gainfully employed since I was 12. And I have had so many different kinds of jobs, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. But in all of the jobs I have had, in all of the years I have been alive, there is no colleague for whom I have had more affection and more respect than Joy Reid. I love everything about her. I have learned so much from her. I have so much more to learn from her. I do not want to lose her as a colleague here at MSNBC. And personally, I think it is a bad mistake to let her walk out the door. It is not my call, and I understand that, but that's what I think. I will tell you, it is also unnerving to see that on a network where we've got two, count them, two non-white hosts in primetime, both of our non-white hosts in primetime are losing their shows, as is Katie Fang on the weekend. And that feels worse than bad, no matter who replaces them. That feels indefensible, and I do not defend it.
Now, of course, Reid was black when she was hired. Is Maddow aware that there are going to be 3 people replacing Joy Reid, all of whom are people of color, a black man, a black female, and a Latina. Details, right? Frankly, the real question is why Joy Reid got the job in the first place. In the mid-2000s, she had a blog. And in her blog, she wrote some pretty hateful, vicious, anti-gay things. When she got her show, these comments resurfaced. And she denied that she wrote them and claimed she'd been hacked. Her network hired a forensic technician, and lo and behold, she had not been hacked. She authored those comments.
Good morning and welcome to AM Joy. A community that I support and that I deeply care about is hurting because of some despicable and truly offensive posts being attributed to me. Now, many of you have seen these blog posts circulating online and in social media. Many of them are homophobic, discriminatory, and outright weird and hateful. When a friend found them in December and sent them to me, I was stunned. Frankly, I couldn't imagine where they'd come from or whose voice that was. In the months since, I've spent a lot of time trying to make sense of these posts. I hired cybersecurity experts to see if somebody had manipulated my words or my former blog. And the reality is they have not been able to prove it. But here's what I know. I genuinely do not believe I wrote those hateful things because they are completely alien to me. But I can definitely understand, based on things I have tweeted and have written in the past, why some people don't believe me. I've not been exempt from being dumb or cruel or hurtful to the very people I want to advocate for. I own that. I get it. And for that, I am truly, truly sorry. I had a conversation the other day with a friend who's also an advocate in the LGBTQ community in Florida, who rightly took me to task for my tweets mocking Ann Coulter using transgender stereotypes. I apologize to my friend, and I want to apologize to the trans community and to Ann. Those tweets were wrong and horrible. I look back today at some of the ways I've talked casually about people and gender identity and sexual orientation, and I wonder who that even was. But the reality is that, like a lot of people in this country, that person was me. I grew up in a household that, like many in America, had conservative views on LGBTQ issues. I had friends, some of my closest friends, in fact, growing up, who I later learned were gay and who had kept it secret from me and from everyone else we were close to, because they didn't know what we would say, or if we would still be friends, or whether we would look at them differently. I can remember a friend of mine, my freshman year in college, telling me he was gay, and my knee-jerk reaction being that it was so disappointing to the women he could have married. He was so hurt, he didn't speak to me for months. I'm heartbroken that I didn't do better back then, knowing so many great people in the LGBTQ community, including amazing friends and journalists and producers and political operatives and great dads and moms and advocates and just regular people. And knowing how hard it must have been for so many of them to come out to their families, to their friends, to just walk around in the world, especially for trans people. And I feel like I should have known better than to ever write or tweet in a way that could make fun of or make light of that pain and that experience, even a decade ago when the country was in a very different place. But I cannot take any of that back. I can only say that the person I am now is not the person I was then. I like to think I've gotten better as a person over time, that I'm still growing, that I'm not the same person I was 10 or 5 or even 1 year ago. And I know that my goal is to try to be a better person and a better ally. Now, the reality is I have to own the things that I've written and tweeted and said. And I'm hoping out of all of this, there's an opportunity to talk about the ways in which hurtful speech really does imperil marginalized communities. These issues matter, not just theoretically, but because we're talking about our friends, our kids, our coworkers, people who deserve better than what I have sometimes given them.
Imagine denying she wrote the things and claiming she had been hacked.
Damn!
She even said, I learned that an unknown external party accessed and manipulated material from my now defunct blog to include offensive and hateful references that are fabricated and run counter to my personal beliefs and ideology. Now that the site has been compromised, I can state unequivocally that it did not represent the original entries. Except the cyber tech said, actually, you did write them. And she said, here's what I know. I genuinely do not believe I wrote those hateful things because they are completely alien to me, close quote. So apparently an alien entity entered and possessed her body and mind. It happens.
I have sinned against you, my Lord. And I would ask that your precious blood would wash and cleanse every stain until it is in the seas of God's forgetfulness.
Here are some of the things she said. Quote, most straight people cringe at the sight of two men kissing. The nature of political correctness is that gay people are allowed to say straight sex is gross, but the reverse is considered to be patently homophobic. She also called conservative commentator Ann Coulter a dude and wrote, I like my drag queens fierce. She suggested South Carolina Republican Senator Lindsey Graham is gay, as well as the then Florida Governor Charlie Crist. Her blog published an image of John McCain's head on a Photoshop body of the Virginia Tech mass shooter.
Ow! Jake, take it easy, man.
Now what? Ow!
Christ. Ow! Jesus.
Ow!
Hey! Jesus!
Oh, you fat penguin!
This noise, man.
She even speculated that 9/11 was not a terror attack, but rather an inside job, I kid you not. Somehow, some way, she weathered that storm and kept her job. Until now.
You're fired. Get out of here. Right?
Now, because Megyn Kelly called Joy Reid a bigot and said her firing was long overdue, this, of course, made Kelly a racist, according to Don Lemon.
There are people who push this stuff out. And then there are people who write about it because it's clickbait and also because it's on the right. The left doesn't have that. Center people who speak with integrity and facts and are always calling people out. That's why I said, I don't want to be one of those people whose Google profile begins with Don Lemon calls out. It's gauche, it's unseemly, and it's beneath me, and it should be beneath her. And then you can page after page. Megyn Kelly calls out, Megyn Kelly calls out, Megyn Kelly calls out. Now, she calls out a lot of women, and she's supposed to be a hero for women. And I have some breaking news, by the way. I have some breaking news. I'm going to finish with Megyn Kelly, but I'm going to talk about some breaking news because they just canceled Katie Fang's show over at the MSNBC, by the way, and one of their Asian American folks. We'll get to that. But let me just finish with Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly calls out this person. So this is what Megyn Kelly said about Joy Reid, right? And remember, Joy Reid is a woman. Megyn Kelly is a woman. She's supposed to be all about women and, you know, supports women. Okay, so this is what she said. Remember when Joy Reid laughingly mocked white women tears as pathetic and offensive to her? Who's crying now, Joy? Good riddance to the absolute worst person on television, and shame on NBC for letting it go on this long. And she has a, you know, she is an axe to grind when it comes to MSNBC. And also, this whole, she's racist, right? It's just, I'm going to give you the evidence.
Reid, and this is my last show. MSNBC decided to cancel it because they don't realize how much my show has to offer. Like, how will white people know how racist and misogynist they are if I don't tell them every day? Anyway, joining me is another victim of oppression, Don Lemon.
Thanks, Joy. I don't know what you're upset about. There's no way you're as oppressed as I am. After all, I'm black and gay. According to the hierarchy, I'm one tier more oppressed than you.
Don, that's ridiculous. Obviously, I'm more oppressed than you because I'm black and have a Mickey in my pants. You're black and gay, but you're a man, and being a man canceled out the gay.
I didn't realize I was talking to Jim Crow. Being black and gay makes me way more oppressed than you.
But you don't have a minky in your pants. Man, I wish there was some way we could settle this.
Oh, what is happening? Where are we? Who abducts a black and gay man? What is this? Jim Crow teleporting?
I brought you here. I'm Cynthia Erivo. I heard your dispute about who's more oppressed. As you know, I was recently chosen to be Jesus because I'm black and gay, so I have the power to determine who's more of a victim. As you know, the oppression tier list was discovered by Rosa Parks. She wasn't as oppressed of any of us, but this is how we determine who's the most oppressed. So who's more oppressed? I'm getting to that. According to the tier list, I'm at the top because I'm black and gay and have a minky in my pants. Joy, you're here on level 2 because although you're just black, you do have a minky. Don, you're closer to the bottom. You may be black and gay, but you're a man and that cancels out a gay.
This is outrageous. You're just saying that because you're homophobic. I didn't realize we were looking at the Jim Crow oppression tier list.
It doesn't really matter. You're both equally obnoxious.
And who can forget that Mr. Lamont lost his job at CNN because he said women over 40 were past their prime? Google it.
She says people, politicians or something are not in their prime. Nikki Haley isn't in her prime. Sorry. When a woman is considered to be in her prime in her 20s and 30s and maybe 40s.
What are you talking? Wait.
That's not according to me.
Prime for what?
It depends. I mean, it's just like prime. If you look it up, if you Google when is a woman in her prime, it'll say 20s, 30s, and 40s. I don't necessarily.
40s. Oh, I got another.
I'm not saying
decade.
I agree with that. So I think she has to be careful about saying that politicians aren't in their prime.
We need to qualify. Are you talking about prime for like childbearing, or are you talking about prime for being president?
Located in the heart of Sugar House, Salt Lake City, Utah, family-owned El Cholo is a vibrant Mexican restaurant offering a unique dining experience across 2 stylish levels. With a beautiful bar, chic design, and stunning views of the Wasatch Mountains, it's the perfect spot for both casual meals and special occasions. El Cholo can host up to 250 people, making it an ideal venue for events like weddings, parties, or corporate gatherings. Whether you're enjoying authentic Mexican dishes or sipping cocktails like our signature margarita, the restaurant's warm ambiance and prime location attract a diverse crowd, including the University of Utah students who love the flavorful dishes and wonderful, lively atmosphere. El Cholo is a favorite gathering spot for locals and visitors alike. 2166 South 900th East, Salt Lake City, Utah, 84106, phone number 385-426-2166. Other locations in Los Angeles, Santa Monica, downtown LA, Anaheim Hills, Corona del Mar, and La Habra. elcholo.com, that's elcholo.com. And for the rest of February at the Salt Lake City location only, but for all of February at all El Cholo locations, mention Larry Elder sent me and you get 10% off your check minus alcohol.
Why isn't your bank asking what's in your heart? When big banks cancel your account because they don't like your politics, or they share your transaction data with the government, it's no wonder they don't ask what's in your heart. That's not what they care about. Old Glory Bank is different. We're the pro-America online bank that protects your privacy, security, and liberty. Started by Dr. Ben Carson, Larry Elder, and John Rich, we proudly serve customers in all 50 states. Open your account in minutes at oldglorybank.com. We stand with you.
To President Trump, with love.
How would you feel about Trump running a 3rd term?
I almost killed myself when he won this last time, so I would not be okay.
Can you expand on that? Why did you almost do that?
Because in my personal opinion, people willingly voted for someone who has at least 20-something sexual assault allegations versus a woman. I just feel like all of those people were saying they don't care about sexual assault. They don't care if you're sexually assaulted. They don't care if their neighbor's sexually assaulted. I just think that they don't care about that kind of stuff, and that's really sad to me.
So it's safe to say you wouldn't want Trump for another 4 years on top of these current 4 years?
No, we need another Luigi to save the world.
Now, Democrat strategist James Carville says, hey, Democrats, just wait. What Trump is doing is unpopular.
Well, okay, I'm going to tease a piece I'm pretty sure will be coming out that I'm doing in the New York Times, probably Monday or Tuesday, but sometimes they'll kill it. But what I've said very publicly is that Democrats need to play possum. This whole thing is collapsing. It doesn't need Elizabeth Warren and somebody screaming to pacify some progressive advocacy groups in Washington, which, by the way, I wish these people were just useless. They're actually worse than useless, that they're detrimental. And they never, ever learn to shut up. And so, Dan, this is what I believe. I believe that this administration, in less than 30 days, in the midst of a massive collapse, and particularly a collapse in public opinion, Della Volpe at Harvard, who's very good. I used to think, once I saw a Harvard youth poll, I discounted it. I've come to say it's a pretty damn good poll. Pretty good guy. He's gone from 53 approval to under 30 to 39. That's a collapse. And all we need to do, the analogy I use, is Pickett is 500 yards from the stone wall. Hold your fire. It's going to be easy pickings here in 6 weeks. Just lay back.
We're doing a real job, and we just had a poll come out, I guess the Harvard poll, saying that it's massively popular what we're doing.
And the president at CPAC gave this rather generous assessment of the Biden administration.
Sleepy Joe. Got to stay with Crooked. He had one ability that I didn't have. He could do something that I couldn't do. I don't say that because he was a horrible golfer. Remember, he challenged me during the debate to a golf match? He said, I'm a 6 handicap. I said, you're not a 36 handicap. He said, he's a 6. And then he said, well, I'm 8. Remember? I said, that was quick. Picked up 2 strokes. He said, no, I'm an 8. But he's not a 36 handicap. But he had one ability that was amazing. He could go with cameras on him, television, fake news on him, probably because he knows they wouldn't cover it badly. You know, they covered him as well as you can cover him. How the hell can you cover the guy well? But he had this incredible ability. He could barely walk in the sand. Somebody thought he looked great in a bathing suit. And he'd walk in the sand pulling a thing that weighed about 6 ounces. You know those aluminum? See, aluminum's very good. A child, it's meant for children and very old people to lift, right? So he would put it down, and he'd put it down, and he'd fall into it, and he'd immediately fall asleep in front of the media. I could never do that. That's the only thing. That's the only thing. I could never do it. No, he was Sleepy Joe, but he was crooked as hell. You know, there's no question. He was a sleepy, crooked guy. Terrible, terrible president. He was the worst president in the history of our country. I don't care, I'll say it. Jimmy Carter passed away recently, and he passed away a happy man. He was a happy man when he passed away because he said that it's not even close. Joe was the worst, and believe me, I have to clean up the mess. I'm cleaning up the mess, and it is a mess on the border with inflation. Could go over every single thing he touched turned to okay? Everything. It's true.
CNN's resident Republican, Scott Jennings, tried to tell his co-panelists that there is an anti-Trump deep state among government workers, including civil servants who hate Trump.
People's lives are on the line here. Their livelihoods.
All right, hold on.
I
think one other point, and this is the push and pull of when a Republican is the president. There's an attempt, when a Republican's in the White House, Donald Trump or any other Republican, to argue that these federal agencies, federal workers, the bureaucracy, sort of can act independently or autonomously from the political leadership of the country. And that's what's happening here. That's why everyone is melting down. That's why the lady came on CNN today. They don't want to answer the email because they don't want to answer to the president. And the message from Trump and Musk is we have political leaders in this country and you got to answer to it.
I'm not following you. Are you you suggesting that it's only when Republicans are president that
100%.
Agencies express independence?
Yes.
Well, you know that that's not true.
No, I know it is 100% true that the bureaucracy is not aligned with, mostly not aligned with Republicans.
For a reason. There are career civil servants who work with one president
among Democrats and Republican
and do so for the Constitution and the love of country.
Hold on a second. Among Democrats and Republican presidents, there are certain agencies that are statutorily independent from politics. That's the same whether it's Republican or Democrat.
You're saying that the bureaucracy is as responsive to Republican or Trump priorities as Democratic?
Is that what I said? No, it's not.
You're saying that bias doesn't exist, and I disagree.
Scott, let me just repeat what I said. There are certain agencies, regardless of the president, that are statutorily independent from politics because they deal with things that pertain to the American public, and there needs to be continuity regardless of who the
Federal
president is.
Reserve,
the Federal
Postal
Reserve,
Commission.
the Security and Exchange Commission.
Right.
There are plenty of agencies that are like that.
But an email doesn't jeopardize continuity of government.
And there are many federal employees that are civil servants, meaning that they don't come in because of partisan politics. That's there to protect you as a conservative and Tara as a liberal.
I'm sorry, I think
it's there to protect both of you.
I hear your debating point. I think it is incredibly naive to believe that there are not civil service bureaucrats who would love nothing more than to thwart this president for 4 years and wait for a Democrat.
Then why are Republican senators worried about it also then? They're not liberals.
I'll tell you why. Because there's
they're
almost 1
constituents.
million federal workers in red states. You know, you think that the people working at the border have a bias pro-Democrats? You think people working for USDA in Miami have a bias for Democrats?
Answer the email. Answer the email.
All right.
And let malign actors, you know, and national security arrest. It's not the president.
Scott, we'll continue this conversation many a times.
No anti-Trump deep state. Are you kidding me? Here's what a Rasmussen poll found. They asked so-called federal government managers, defined as federal employees living in the D.C. region and earning at least $75K. They asked the ones who voted for Vice President Kamala Harris, and that's most of them, if Trump gave you a lawful order that you thought was a bad idea, would you follow that order? 64% said no. Only 17% of these career bureaucrats who voted for VP Harris would obey the lawful order by Trump. Are you kidding me?
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 Now, President Trump has ordered government workers to go into the office and work. Only 6% apparently have been doing so, and it's almost impossible to get fired if you're a federal worker. What about the private sector, you ask? This is Jamie Dimon, the CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase. He is on a video unaware that he's being recorded. He also recently gave thumbs up to DOGE and chastised his own employees from working at home. He thought it made them lazy and inefficient. Watch this.
A lot of you were on the Zoom and you were doing the following, okay? You know, looking at your mail, sending texts to each other about what an asshole the other person is. Okay, not paying attention, not reading your stuff, you know, and if you don't think that slows down efficiency, creativity, creates rudeness and stuff, it does, okay? And when I found out that people are doing that, you don't do that in my damn meetings. You go to a meeting with me, you got my attention, you got my focus, I don't bring my damn phone, I'm not sending texts to people, okay? It simply doesn't work, and it doesn't work for creativity, it slows down decision-making, and don't give me the work from home Friday works. I call a lot of people on Friday. They're not a damn person to get a hold of. But here are the problems, okay? And they are substantial, okay? Which is the young generation is being damaged by this. That means they may or may not be on your particular staff, but they are being left behind. They're being left behind socially, ideas, meeting people. In fact, my guess is most of you live in communities a hell of a lot less diverse than this room. Every area should be looking to be 10% more efficient. If I was running a department of 100 people, I guarantee you, if I wanted to, I could run it with 90 and be more efficient. I guarantee you. I could do it in my sleep. And the notion, these bureaucracies, I need more people, I can't get it done. No, because you're filling out requests that don't need to be done. Your people are going to meetings they don't need to go to. Someone told me to approve some of his wealth management that they had to go to 14 committees. I am dying to get the name of the 14 committees, and I feel like firing 14 chairmen of committees. I can't stand it anymore. Now, you have a choice. You don't have to work at J.P. Morgan. So the people of you who don't want to work at the company, that's fine with me. I'm not mad at you. Don't be mad at me. It's a free country. You can walk with your feet, you know, but this company is going to set our own standards and do it our own way. And I've had it with this kind of stuff. And, you know, I come in, you know, I've been working 7 days a week since COVID, and I come in and where's everybody else? But they're here and there, and the Zooms don't show up, and people say they didn't get stuff. So that's not how you run a great company. We didn't build this great company by doing that, by doing the same semi-disease everybody else does.
Elon Musk told federal workers to describe what they did last week. Write down 5 things or run the risk of being fired. And right on cue.
Elon Musk has zero legal authority to fire government employees or force their resignations. These people don't report to Elon Musk.
This nonsensical email from Elon Musk acting like we're in kindergarten.
It's like an own the libs, make you cry more sort of environment, right? Where both Trump and Musk are performing for the MAGA base.
The new Trump administration is reveling in its bare-knuckle approach to governance.
This is so sloppy with the way Elon Musk is handling this.
I used to be a federal employee, and I'm going to tell you why I don't feel bad for federal employees being forced to come back into the workplace. I worked for the Army Corps of Engineers for almost a year, and the abuses that I saw by government employees was astounding and shocking. I worked as a realty specialist, and that is someone who manages government-owned lands. When I was hired, my boss bragged that it was basically impossible to get fired from the federal government, and that in her entire time working for the government, she'd only seen one person fired, and that person assaulted a fellow employee, and she wasn't even fired for assaulting the employee at work. She was fired for lying about it because they caught it on camera. When I worked for the government, we were allowed to work 50% in the office and 50% from home, for the most part. In some cases, if you worked there, like I think over 10 years or something, you could actually work from home 3 days a week and work from the office 2 days a week. I use the word work very loosely. One employee spent his time remote working, running his own farm. Another employee bragged about drunk driving and going out to lunch with her friends for margaritas when she was supposed to be remote working. No one would log into their computers, and you can see it because they're not on Teams, and no one ever checked. Ever. There's something called the 80-20 rule where 80% of the work in government is done by 20% of the people, and this is very, very true. One employee would come into the office, his start time would be 6:30, and he knew nobody would be there, and when I came in at 7:30 and I was the next person to come in, he was snoring at his desk every single morning. Another employee would take the government truck on an almost daily basis so that he could go out to lunch and then go and take a nap in his favorite park under a shady tree in the government truck. I spent 3 months cleaning up their real estate files room, which was a disaster. The government is using an antiquated system that was developed sometime in the 90s and using regulations that haven't been updated since the 90s to manage our dams and our government lands. Our government is filled with the most incompetent and most lazy people and an occasional hard worker. And those hard workers are severely punished every time they outwork their colleagues, because then the colleagues realize people will see that they're lazy and they don't want to have to work more. They're just buying time until they retire. My point is, some of our government organizations haven't been maintained or updated in so long that you basically need to create a new organization and start from scratch, because there's almost no way to transfer it over, and there's so much red tape in between, it'll never get done. I know that our government is inefficient because the people working for it are not doing what they need to do to take care of the rest of us. So no, I don't think government employees should get the benefit of working from home. If our government is not working for us, we shouldn't have to take years to do anything in a technological age. They choose to take that long. That's a choice. So they can choose to do things faster and more efficiently, and then they can choose to get remote work back. I don't feel bad for them.
Now get this. This woman who admits she hasn't paid taxes in 8 years has a message for Elon Musk.
I promised myself I would avoid the news. But obviously I haven't. Here's my one thought. I mean, I have many thoughts. Elon Musk, like, we need to X him. And by X, I mean formerly known as assassination. I know someone from FBI is gonna show up. I don't. Arrest me. You don't have enough people to even investigate me at this point. I haven't filed my taxes in like 8 years. And yet, no one's covered me. So, I'm gonna say it. Let's assassinate some motherfuckers.
And once again, why was Elon Musk able to fire almost 80% of his Twitter employees and have the organization keep right on going?
Welcome to a day in my life as a Twitter employee. So this past week, went to SF for the first time at a Twitter office, badged in. Honestly, took a moment to just soak everything in. What a blessing. Also started my morning off with an iced matcha from the perch. Then I had a meeting, so quickly scheduled one of these little pod rooms, which were so cool. They're literally noise canceling. Took my meeting, got ready for lunch. Look how delicious this food looks. Oh my goodness, I was so overwhelmed. Then made my way down to this log cabin area. I don't know what this is, but it was really cool. Played some foosball with my friends to kind of unwind a bit. Also found this really cool meditation room that I thought was super neat. I didn't do any yoga, but they have this yoga room if you are a yogi, so also thought that was really cool. Had a couple more meetings in the afternoon, had a ton of projects that we needed to knock out. Say hi to my teammates. Went to the library to kind of get some more work done. Obviously had to have our afternoon coffee, so made some espresso. And then before leaving for the day, had some red wine that's on tap. Went up to the rooftop and just honestly enjoyed the beautiful weather. So awesome.
Harry?
First, just tell us about this email and what it was like receiving it and what you all have talked about after getting it.
Sure. I got this email Saturday afternoon, about 3 p.m., and I felt absolutely infuriated getting this email with a demand within 48 hours to provide a response on what I did within the last week or face termination. This is clearly an attempt from Elon Musk to harass and bully and intimidate the federal workforce, which is part of his broader plan to gut the federal workforce and privatize public sector services to ensure that corporations like his own can get more profit. And that makes me really angry, and my coworkers as well.
Check out this federal worker who called Charlemagne the God and enlightened him.
Good morning. I want to say anonymous, but I do work for the federal government.
All right.
Can you at least tell
us where?
Yes, in Florida, Miami, Florida.
No, I mean, like what branch? Like what do you do in the government?
Oh, Department of Human Services.
Okay. How are you feeling? Did you get one of those emails? Talk to us.
I got the email, and I honestly feel like this is a great opportunity to outline what you as an employee bring to the bring to the federal government. And if it's really good what you outline, they could give you an opportunity to get a promotion or something. Like, God forbid, they ask you what you've done. Any other job, they'll ask you at the end of the week, at the end of the month, because I used to do bookkeeping. Okay, so what did we do, at the end of the month? What are the clients that we have to, gear towards to? So at the end of the day, God forbid anybody make any, and it's this democratic thing. It's like, I don't want to get the parties into it, but they don't want to go to work. They want to work from home. People are not working from home. This is what you signed up for. If you don't like it, resign. You know what I'm saying? They gave you the opportunity to find another job. I mean, it's not that hard. You're complaining about actually working. I don't get it.
I'm not mad at your perspective. That's why I like talking to people. I like talking to people, and I like talking to people who are in it, because everybody sees things a different way. I haven't heard this perspective.
Do you feel like there are a lot of people that are not working, that are taking days off? I guess exactly
absolutely,
what Trump and Elon are saying.
Absolutely. I worked from home, and you know what? Donald Trump got the gadget idea because Elon Musk, he fired like 80% of the Twitter people or Tesla people for his company, because you can buy a gadget that actually shakes up like you're at the desk, but you're really not working, because the computers, it shuts off if it's non-activity within like 5 minutes. So it requires you to actually work from home. But it's gadgets around that, and people are actually buying it and using it and not working. And this is our taxpayers' money, and you have to work.
Yeah,
you don't like it, get another job.
I understand what you're saying, but you can't just take a wrecking ball to the infrastructure of the federal government and just start firing people all willy-nilly.
So, how do Democrats feel about Elon Musk?
If you could speak directly to Elon Musk, what would you say?
Off.
That's it.
Say that one more time.
If you could speak directly to Elon Musk, what would you say?
Off.
That's it.
It's Miller time. Stephen Miller versus CNN's Breonna Keeler. Miller says that she and CNN ought to be cheering the discovery of waste, fraud, and abuse. But no!
Let's get it on! Does Elon Musk know he's not in charge of DOGE?
Round one, fight.
Again, the president runs the government, then the president appoints advisors, including Elon, including myself, including all the other staff here at the White House, and then those staff in turn execute the president's commands and directions to all the agencies of the federal government. This is how democracy works, something that we treasure in America. The whole American people go to the ballot box, they elect the president appoints staff, the staff that administer his orders and directives across the whole U.S. government.
Okay, Stephen, I get that, but this is important because we want to talk about who's making the decisions here. There were 300 employees, the National Nuclear Security Administration, you know about this, they were fired. So then who is it making those decisions of which federal employees are terminated?
Well, in that case, the Secretary of Energy would be the one. So what you're describing with the cuts in the Department of Energy, those are directed by the Senate-confirmed Secretary of Energy.
Okay, so that was the Secretary of Energy's mistake.
Well, I wouldn't use the term mistake. I would say that it's pretty standard when you're downsizing government. You make cuts, you assess those cuts, you see who needs to be rehired, who needs to be kept, who needs to be
That's not what happened here, though, Stephen. You know that. They were rescinded. These aren't normal things. These were terminations that were rescinded.
I understand that even a temporary interruption in federal employment is a great crisis and catastrophe for you and for CNN. What the American people see is a government that is finally delivering a promise of accountability under President Trump. You want to have a conversation about transparency. Let me ask you a question. Do you have any idea where the $22 billion that the Department of Health and Human Services provided to illegal aliens under Joe Biden is right now? $22 billion with a B. That's enough to provide a free house to every homeless veteran in America. Where's the $22 billion? I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. Joe Biden just spent it, and now it's gone.
Round two, fight.
Stephen, it seems like the crisis here had to do with the nation's nuclear stockpile. And for these particular federal workers, which I'm not, so this isn't my personal crisis, military members of the Guard and the Reserve. I don't think it's a crisis, and you don't think it's, well, hold on. I don't think it's a crisis, and you don't think it's a crisis, then why are we talking about it? Well, it is a crisis for some people. For instance, military members.
But you just said you didn't think it was a crisis.
It's not my crisis, Stephen. I'm not a federal employee.
Okay, so I don't think it's a crisis, and you don't think it's a crisis, so no one thinks it's a crisis.
It's not my personal crisis of employment. If you have concerns about the nation's nuclear stockpile, then it is obviously a crisis.
The concerns
it's an issue
when it comes to
Stephen, please, we're getting off track.
Nuclear weapons,
does your administration understand who is in the federal workforce?
Yes, we have such a broad question. Of course we understand who's in the federal workforce. And I'm happy to indulge all of these very histrionic questions about anyone who may or may not be fired.
That it's 30% veterans?
But I think that
and that you have people who are deployed?
The U.S. government has $36 trillion in debt. The interest payments on the debt exceed the national defense budget. The American people are exhausted and tired of watching their tax dollars be corruptly spent, abused, wasted, and in every sense robbed and stolen from them. This president, for the first time in history, is committed to restoring accountability at every level of the federal government. You may assert there's no waste in the Pentagon. You may assert there's no waste in
Stephen,
Treasury.
I'm not
you may assert there's no waste in HHS.
That, Stephen, I don't think anyone...
Then why are you not celebrating these cuts? If you agree there is waste, if you agree there is abuse, if you agree there is corruption, why are you not celebrating the cuts, the reforms that are being instituted? Every day that no action is taken, the entire salaries of American workers that are taxed disappear forever.
Stephen, let's calm down.
This is
we're not having a debate.
There's no reason
about whether there are
places...
Well,
you are clearly trying to debate me, and I will be as excited as I want to be about the fact that we are saving Americans billions of dollars, that we are ending the theft and waste and grift and corruption, that we are stopping American taxpayer dollars from subsidizing a rogue federal bureaucracy that has been relentlessly weaponized against the American people.
Okay,
you
Stephen,
may not care about
I'm
this
not
issue.
Talking about
your colleagues may
whether
not care about
there's
this
not
issue.
an area
But we care
to
about this
cut in
issue.
the
The
government. I
American
understand
people
that,
care about
Stephen.
this issue.
They also care about privacy.
And the American
so let me
public
ask you about
overwhelmingly
that.
supports what President
Stephen,
Trump is doing.
Let's talk about...
Fight.
Will DOGE employees be able to access individual taxpayer ID numbers and Social Security numbers?
No. But also, keep in mind, you keep
Will
talking
they be able
about
to
DOGE
access
employees.
taxpayer bank account information?
They will not be able to access anything that any other appropriately authorized federal employee could access. When you keep talking about, quote, DOGE employees, you're just talking about federal workers. You're just literally talking about federal workers. Your question will be, can federal workers do their job? The job of the federal workers at the IRS is to prevent... Well, I'm telling you that is actually what you are asking. DOGE is part of the federal government. It is a term to describe the employees of the federal government who've been tasked with anti-fraud and anti-corruption activities. Again, you may not consider it a scandal that millions of illegal aliens are accepting and receiving taxpayer benefits. You might not consider it a scandal that millions of illegal aliens have stolen Social Security numbers and are committing rampant theft of American resources. The difference is that no one is given immunity anymore. No one is given permission to break the law anymore. Because this is not a country, this is not a sovereign territory, if illegal aliens can freely steal billions, with a B, billions of taxpayer dollars. And I would have to imagine that CNN, which is endlessly talked about the importance of democracy and the rule of law, would say that no class in this country should be above the law, least of all illegal aliens who've trespassed on our territory.
No, Stephen, I'm just asking, I wanted to get your position on some things. We're not taking a position here. We wanted to get some answers to some questions. There are so many questions that need to be answered.
It doesn't sound to me
Miller,
like you are, in fact, indifferent or unbiased on these questions, but thank you.
Wins. Fatality.
Want to get away?
Kevin O'Leary, a.k.a. Mr. Wonderful, says DOGE isn't cutting enough.
Federal government is fat, dripping with fat. 100 years of never being scrutinized, never been examined, never looking for any efficiencies. Finally, here's an individual that's willing to do it for free with extremely great executional skills, and people are uncomfortable. Don't worry about it. The American people want to know how much waste is evident. And I think they're getting answers, and it's not good. So, Tom, I love it. You're absolutely right. But frankly, just between you and I, he's not cutting enough. In the concept of private equity, when you find a broken, bankrupt company, you look at the spreadsheet, you say, okay, this is the original cut idea. You cut 20% more, because it really hurts when you cut. You cut deep. You cut fast, you chop, you hack, and then you hire back because you don't want the trauma to everybody multiple times. I don't think he's doing enough. He's not cutting enough. We should cut more, 20% more. It's all fat. It's waste. There's so much waste in federal government. This is great for the American people.
Is USAID really helping? What if it is simply making third world countries more dependent, less self-sufficient?
I have never heard of a country that developed on aid. If you know of one, just let me know. I know about countries that developed on trade and innovation and business. I don't know of any country that got so much aid and they suddenly became a first world country. I've never heard of such a country. So the track is wrong. That track ends to nowhere.
There is a school of thought out there that I don't agree with, where indeed people think they owe the poor people to give them money without thinking about how they are going to use this money, aid, leads to more aid and more aid and more aid and less independence of the people that are receiving aid. Second, there's a wrong notion for people who have money or who give aid. They feel good that they're helping, but the best way to help is to help people to be able to stand on their own.
Our governments are not encouraged to buy local. Now, when we talk to the international donor community, they say it's not their policy and that we're in cloud cuckoo land. When we talk to the government says, hey, we're not allowed to buy with donor money local products. That's just the way it is. It's their money, they decide who gets it. For example, 5 companies in Ghana got together to bid for a contract together. Now, everything was going very well. We were competent to do the work. Guess what happens? We're bidding against some European companies. One of the companies got their government to loan our government money, very soft loan, for the project. Our folks in the government said, hey, you know, we love you very much. Nothing beats free money. We lost our money. You know what we ended up doing? We ended up working as subcontractors to the Europeans. They gave us the worst part of the business. The most difficult and least profitable part, we wound up doing it because we were better at doing the work. So they got the best of both worlds. Their government paid, we ended up doing the work, they took the money. That's not development, that's not assistance, that's thuggery.
I'll have an order of the Kamala Harris word salad, please.
What goes through your mind when you see this? You're here, you're now seeing it up close.
It's not only seeing it, Alex, you can smell it. You can feel it, right? So it's seeing it with our eyes, and many people have seen it. You all are covering it. But to literally be on the ground here, you can smell the smoke that was here. You can feel the toxicity, frankly, of the environment. You can feel the energy of all of the folks who are still here on the ground.
Light on the salad. And then we have high-tech Trump derangement syndrome.
Next case. Fox Digital found that saying the word racist in the voice-to-text feature on Apple devices will periodically generate the word Trump on the screen. Tell me what's happening here.
Yeah, Apple has a problem on their hands. So Fox Digital has found that saying the word racist in the voice-to-text feature on Apple devices will generate the word Trump before changing to the correct word. Now, if you're sitting at home and you're thinking, okay, let me try this, it doesn't happen every time, but Fox Digital found that it did happen some of the time. And this was noticed by our team because there was a video on TikTok showing this. So we reached out to Apple, and they did provide a statement saying to Fox, quote, "We are aware of an issue with the speech recognition model that powers dictation, and we are rolling out a fix as soon as possible." So acknowledging it. Apple did explain that sometimes dictation will display words with phonetic overlap. And looking at Trump and racist, I guess there is an overlap of the R.
That's
but
it.
Trump, racist, yeah, I'll leave it up to you, Stu.
I just don't see the overlap, quite frankly, but they are.
Senator Elizabeth Warren, a.k.a. Pocahontas, in mid-season form.
Democrats are raising their voices. Where in the hell are the Republicans? How do they stand by and just say, sure, break the law? After all, we only wrote those laws, put them into place, have relied on them all these years, claim to be the party of law and order, and the Republicans just look the other way or talk about something else, change the subject. Look, we have 3 parts to government, right? There's the legislative, that's Congress. There's the White House, that's the administration. And there's the courts. We all need to be doing our jobs. And just because Elon Musk comes in and has $1 bazillion and threatens to primary anybody who doesn't toe the party line, and just because Donald Trump declares himself, as I think he did today, the king, doesn't make it so. Our job, and when I say our job, I mean all of our jobs. I mean the Democrats in Congress, I mean the Republicans, I mean people all across this country. Our job is to say no, follow the law. Now, we can fight over what the law should be, but follow the law. That's where we need to start this conversation.
You mentioned your Republican colleagues. Have you been talking with them about this, specifically about your data concerns, or what's been going on with DOGE, and what are you hearing from them?
These guys seem to have their ears stuffed with cotton. They don't want to make eye contact. They know what is going on. These are people right now who should be speaking up. They took an oath to the Constitution of the United States. And oaths like that are not just, well, and if you feel like it, and there was this little part at the end that said, unless it's politically uncomfortable. We need our Republican colleagues to grow a backbone and get out there and stand up. And yeah, I get it. Democrats, we can scream, we can carry on, but we need everybody in this. This is a moment when we're not talking about the ordinary policy differences. We are actually talking about, does Elon Musk just decide, nope, he wants to cancel that agency because after all, it's going to be maybe a problem with some of his business interests, or he wants to get rid of those employees because after all, they've annoyed him. That is not how we build a country that is strong and resilient and fair for everyone.
Larry Elder here. For the past 18 months, I've been working with Impactful Pictures on an investigative documentary project called Electric Vehicles, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which digs deeply into the multifaceted revolution of electric vehicles, shedding light on not just the environmental promises, but also the challenges and the potential pitfalls of this rapidly growing industry. Now, this all started when I began hearing this business about net zero emissions and that gas-powered cars are a threat to the planet and that there's this big push for electric vehicles. I felt conflicted. I love my gas-powered car, but I don't like being told what to do, and I don't want the planet to be damaged. Now, I've been in talk radio for about 30 years, been in TV for about 40. I ran for office, I ran for governor, I ran for president. I'm a best-selling author and a New York Times bestseller. I've always been a truth seeker. So I decided to go on an investigative journey to find out the answer to the following question. Are electric vehicles really better for the planet than gas-powered cars? Now, many governments around the world have signed up for what's called a net zero emission pledge. But a majority of Americans, over 90%, are still driving gas-powered cars, and they are facing the tough choice of whether to switch to an EV or not. We need to get to the truth about EVs. Our team traveled all around the country and talked to many experts and scientists in the fields of cars, the environment, mining, national security, etc. We looked beyond the mainstream media coverage, uncovering the lesser-known aspects of electric vehicles, like the environmental and humanitarian impacts of mining for minerals essential for EV batteries. And what does the future hold for battery disposal and recycling? We also don't shy away from controversial topics, like the geopolitical tensions that arise from China's dominance in the EV industry and the mining industry, and the potential vulnerabilities of EVs which could be prone to cyber attacks and excessive government control. This award-winning team of producer and director and crew at Impactful Pictures have done, in my opinion, an amazing job to uncover the truth. Impactful Pictures is an independent, non-profit film production company dedicated to creating family-friendly stories that entertain and inspire meaningful change for humanity. This is also an important documentary that needs to be seen by all Americans. And for production, we've done it all completely bootstrapped, having never taken one dime of outside funding to complete the project. Now, we need your help to raise money for marketing and promotion, enabling us to bring the truth about EVs to as many Americans as possible and help them make informed decisions on electric vehicles. This documentary is not just about cars, it's about the way we choose to shape our future. So visit our website, LarryEVFilm.com/join us to learn more and help spread the word about this film. Join us to become part of the truth-seeking movement and bring the truth to light. Thank you for all your support. There's a new sheriff at the FBI. Kash Patel has been confirmed and right on cue.
The FBI will crush you. This government will crush you and your family if you try to expose the truth about things that they are doing that are wrong. And we are all examples of that.
As I testified, I had been selected for a new specialty unit in the Quantico region. And after we sold our house and had our youngest daughter and began to move across the country, when I reported for duty on that first day, I was promptly suspended. And that is really when the retaliation began.
That is really terrible. How long had you been with the FBI at that point? You've been a loyal soldier to this government for a long time, and because you spoke out about what you saw happening, you were retaliated against. How long were you at the FBI? And tell me what happened that you witnessed, the rot that you and your colleagues talked about in testimony.
Right. So I had been with the FBI just about 4 years when I was suspended. And in total, I've served this country or my community for 14 years. And yeah, some of the things we testified about include, just a reasonable belief that the FBI is intentionally mishandling investigations, including padding statistics on how they represent facts to Congress, and a number of other issues like the domestic violent extremism symbols guide that I testified to, and there's a number of things that we can talk about regarding concern that not only us whistleblowers but many employees in the FBI have.
And did you feel that it was largely the leadership? Because, Garrett, we've covered this, and as the FBI pursued wiretaps on Trump officials, Carter Page, George Papadopoulos, among others, even though they had absolutely no evidence of any collusion, and that, of course, story divided our country greatly. Then they sat on the Biden laptop as President Trump was getting impeached. And they pursued doing an investigation of Trump and didn't do anything about Hillary Clinton, even though there were claims that she was accepting money from foreign powers. How did this all play out within the agency while you were there?
Right. It certainly appears that it's a two-tiered system, and it's in favor of one political leaning over the other. And inside the agency, from my view, as a line agent, it is. Many of us saw these things, similar things to what you just mentioned. And yes, that rot, it is at the headquarters level. It is at the top. I would estimate probably 20% of the agency, the senior executive staff level. And honestly, it's probably not even all of them, just a lion's share of them who have really distorted and twisted the agency. I've compared it to a Hoover-like FBI again, where back then it was really just Hoover who was running the show and in charge and had his own henchmen. Now, I think Director Wray is pretty much insulated from a lot of that, and maybe he does that intentionally, and then it's these other SES level employees who are more of a conglomerate of a Hoover. It's like a 10-headed snake instead of a one-headed snake today.
So what does the masses at the FBI say? How is the sentiment on the ground? I know that there are amazing people who work at the FBI, amazing, loyal to America people who work there, and they want a bias-free environment. But what are you actually witnessing on the ground, and how does the sentiment, how has it changed within the ranks?
So the sentiment has changed in that, a former colleague reached out to me after my testimony, and we discussed how a number of senior level agents on his squad, so these are agents who have had 10, 15 years, they're getting closer to retirement. He said that all of them cannot wait to get to retirement. They want to get out of the agency as fast as possible, but they just want to keep their heads down and make it to that retirement, which from my view and from the situation I'm in, I think that that's an unfortunate position to take, because if every employee in the FBI, agents, analysts, it doesn't matter what type of employee you are, if they all stood up and pointed out the wrongdoing that the FBI is engaging in, I think we'd be better off as a nation.
Garrett, of course, we all follow the money, but is that going to be enough to hold back funding for the FBI to change the culture? Or do you feel that you really need a new head at the top? Christopher Wray has been there now after Jim Comey. Is it the same culture under Wray that it was under Comey?
In my tenure, I had only served under Wray, but there did seem to be a dramatic change in the culture in just the short time I was there. Now, that being said, with the appropriations process, I think that's a good starting point, but there are other things that need to change too, and I hope people like Congressman Jordan and others, current and former FBI employees, as I testified to, we all need to come together to really fix the cancerous rot that is being seen at the FBI.
And then there are corrupt DHS employees who are leaking information about ICE raids.
Are we finding any of the people that are responsible for tipping off these gang members or cartel members that are in the country illegally and hence putting ICE officials' lives in jeopardy because they lose the element of surprise? Any update in terms of who's been tipping them off?
Absolutely, Sean. I have found some leakers. We are continuing to get more. They will be fired. There will be consequences. And remember, when they leak information to the press in order to blow an op, they are putting law enforcement lives in jeopardy. They are risking their lives and putting their families in the position where they'll have to live without those individuals any further. So you bet we have used every tactic that we have. If you remember, we talked just last week about how I'm using polygraphs to go after and to really interview these folks because we are a national security agency. I have that tool I can use. Also looking at their emails, looking at their communications. And it's amazing how these bureaucrats who have an agenda to stop the work that we're doing to bring safety to America, how they will sell each other down the river if it's just to protect themselves. So don't worry, I am doing everything to find these leakers and to get rid of them so that we can do our work and our law enforcement officers and agents can do it safely.
Isn't that a crime? If you're tipping off gang members about a potential ICE raid and putting their lives in jeopardy, I've got to imagine that's a violation of some code somewhere.
Absolutely. And when they are breaking the law, we are prosecuting and holding them accountable to it. So, we're not here to play games. This is about America. And any law enforcement officer that serves and partners not only with the Department of Homeland Security, but partners with us, listen, we respect you. We honor the work that you do. We will take care of your family. We will take care of you, and we'll go after those that threaten your lives by leaking this type of information.
And check out this Social Security whistleblower.
They wanted us to try to identify them in such a way that they would qualify for long-term Social Security disability. Now,
what?
Yeah, and long-term Social Security disability is for life.
Yeah.
So if they get identified and qualify for long-term Social Security disability, they are as good as set up for life for medical treatment.
That doesn't sound like a refugee to me. Just being honest.
Yeah.
That sounds like somebody who's planning on staying here.
Yeah,
a refugee
right.
stays until the problem's over and then goes home.
Well, that's right. And so they instructed us to try to identify, to try to get the client, because once they arrive here, they're now called clients. They're now called clients. Yeah.
Okay.
Because clients pay.
Sure.
See?
Sure. I'm starting
And
to
so,
see where this is leading here.
So they told us that we needed to talk to the client and ask them if they'd had any headaches, recurring headaches, or any lower back problems, anything that would qualify them for Social Security long-term disability.
Wait. So let me get this straight. Part of the screening is supposed to be, are you sick, maimed, injured, whatever?
Right.
No. Okay, good, you can come in.
Yeah.
You get on the airplane, are you sick, maimed, injured, whatever? Yes. Good, so we can give you disability.
Correct.
What?
Yes.
This is insanity.
Yes, it is insanity.
But in order to get Social Security disability benefits, don't you need a Social Security number?
Well, we were instructed in the meeting that one of the first things we were supposed to do was sign them up for Social Security. Yeah.
Wait. This is unbelievable. So they come over here and they get a Social Security number.
Right.
They become legal.
Correct.
Are you pulling my leg?
No, I'm not. And then after we processed them for a Social Security card, then we were to process them for a U.S. passport.
No, you're not.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So that's about the time I kind of decided, okay, I was done. I've heard everything I want to know. I was so angry about this, that they would receive a U.S. passport. It just, I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that we were giving these people Social Security cards and U.S. passports and free medical, free housing, free food, free everything.
Yeah, but the thing that bothers me, because the food we can recoup from,
And the money irritates me, but we can earn it back and we can stop the program or whatever it is. But once you give somebody a Social Security number and you give them what's considered globally the golden ticket, which is a U.S. passport.
Right.
That is beyond comprehension that we're doing this.
That's right.
Your tax dollars at work. And then there's California Trump-hating Congressman Eric Swalwell. A man secretly recorded Swalwell, who the man said was drunk, as Swalwell was speaking for 90 minutes to lobbyists. Lobbyists Swalwell apparently had never met. The man who recorded him said that Swalwell said some pretty damning things. The man who recorded Swalwell then confronted him thereafter.
So, Congressman, you referred to Elon Musk as a fascist at some point and alluded to him being a national security threat. Do you see that more of a national security threat, you sleeping with a Chinese spy, than transparency in the federal government? What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on that? What's Fang Fang think of that?
What are you doing?
What's fascistic about exposing government corruption? I mean, I know you're just at dinner now with a bunch of lobbyists. You know, they're buying you a bunch of booze, and you know that's awfully nice. I know you were talking about, maybe finding somebody else because you only like the people that are tens. I just heard that one too. So what do you think about that? Do you want to comment on any of it? Elon Musk is a national security threat, but you sleeping with a Chinese spy is not. Is that correct? You don't want to comment on that at all? Looks like guilty as charged.
Stay tuned. Finally, who doesn't love Granny?
Mom. What? I'm going to ask you 3 questions, okay? And your answer every time is going to be addicted.
Okay.
All right. So if an alcoholic drinks too much, they are
addicted.
Right. And if a drug addict does too many drugs, they are
addicted.
Right. And what slapped you in the face last night?
Addicted. You're a goofy.
Awesome.
By the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
My money's on dog number 2.
Hanging around downtown by myself, and I had so much time.
Hope you enjoyed We've Got a Country to Save, brought to you by Freedom Chat. Freedom Chat has true end-to-end encryption, no storage of messages on the server, and no commercial use of user data. That way, you can speak freely and message privately. Download the app today and subscribe to my Freedom Chat channel at Larry Elder for exclusive posts and never-before-seen content. We also thank Impactful Pictures, Old Glory Bank, Patriot Mobile, and El Cholo. Be sure to like and subscribe to our podcast. Make sure to follow or subscribe to my channel on whatever platform you're using, whether X, YouTube, Facebook, or Rumble. Please patronize our sponsors so we can keep bringing you these awesome videos. And remember, we've got a country to save.